So I don't know how to introduce it. Hi and welcome to the climbing podcast. No,
Well, this is why we're doing this first one, right? Is to figure out how to do that.
I should even call it climbing focus instead of climbing podcast. That was a good start.
Yeah.
Hi and welcome to climbing focus. My name's Fiona.
I'm Dean.
Briefly, I've been climbing since I was very young, over 30 years, and enjoy really looking into the safety aspects of climbing and finding out ways that we can make our community safer. So I am a bit of a climbing nerd and I love looking into the ins and outs of safety, and not everyone is. I have had my own incidents over the past, and I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. But I want us to have an open forum for us to discuss what went wrong in a non-judgmental way, to be able to provide a place for us to learn and improve as a community. So that was the inspiration for the idea of putting this together. So I hope you find it useful. And why are you here, Dane?
Well, Fiona asked me to be here. I don't have as good of an introduction.
He's just the eye candy.
Yeah. I don't have as good introduction as she has. But I've been climbing for, I don't know, kind of on and off for about 5-6 years. First time I actually ever climbed was up in Chautauqua, up in Boulder. Yeah, that was one of the first.
Don't worry, we'll bleep that out.
But no, it was a really fun climb. Really got me into it, and then started climbing on and off, and then really started getting into climbing when first moved out here in 2018. But for the people who can actually see this video or watching the video instead of listening to the podcast, there are so many implements of climbing behind us. And I'm sure each one of
the rest are in the box.
They're on the box. Yeah, they're on the box.
Two more boxes over there under the table.
Yeah, but some of these climbing implements have been around, you said, for almost 30 years now?
These ones, no, they've all been replaced.
All of them?
All of them.
Except for
that one
this
carabiner.
This
carabiner. This little carabiner here was on my first harness. Probably when I was about 18, 19. The Bent Gates. There's still a Bent Gate Mountaineering in Boulder, an independent climbing store. Support your independent climbing store.
Andy Golden.
Is it Golden? Yeah, Golden. Sorry, Golden, not Boulder. And the Bent Gates have gone out of fashion. You don't see them anymore.
Well, shout out to Bentgate and Golden. Awesome. Well, we are here today to talk about news, just all things climbing in the climbing world.
I think the idea for what we want to cover, we want to look at some recent events that happened, either news or things we heard or what people have been telling us, and kind of the stories that are floating around the climbing community currently. We want to look at some reports, either look into one at a little more depth and then look at another one or two or three things that maybe would be the takeaways that we can learn, and then hopefully be able to take the last part of the video. We're going to have hopefully we'll be able to find some new videos, but we'll be looking at what went wrong in some video clips at the end. And again, with an aim to learn and not judge, but it's very hard not to judge, and it can be funny. As long as everyone's okay at the end of the day, it's okay to laugh.
But one of our first story here is a perfect segue of where it's not so funny.
Right, it's a death. We're going to start with death.
Why not just start with a home run?
Climbing.
Just start with a home run.
Death. Someone died, but this person died a very, very long time ago. It was, of course, the big story this week was, or last week now, it was Irvine. His partial remains have been found.
Mm-hmm.
So they found a boot recently. It had his sock marked with AC Irvine. AC was his actual name, Andrew Comyn. Someone maybe can tell me how you're supposed to pronounce that. And Sandy was his nickname. With George Mallory, they attempted to climb Everest. Camera in the pocket is the thing that was supposed to let everyone know whether or not they did it. When we finally found the body, we would find the camera. Kodak said that they would be able to develop that film, possibly.
So let's get back to this. So how did actually Jimmy Chin find this boot?
Jimmy Chin didn't find it.
He didn't, okay.
No. So Eric Ropker was the one who found the body, but they were actively looking for it in that area because they were pretty sure that they were in the vicinity of where it was. Now, people have had lots of theories as to where the body might have been, depending on where they were last seen, where they got into difficulties, where they were likely to have fallen. But they found some oxygen bottles that were believed to be the bottles that were carried by them. And when they found those bottles, they were able to get a trajectory by looking at the terrain of the mountain and then kind of guesstimating how much further bottles would have gone than a human, just on shape and weight. And so they basically had a line of where that fall line now may be, or relatively. And so they backtracked up that line looking, and that's when they saw some birds circling over something, which drew them to this area. And then Eric Roke was there to find it. Now, it was Jimmy Chin was in the expedition, so he was part of that search party. So they, as a team, found it, and that team included Jimmy Chin. The reason I'm making that clarification is Jimmy Chin is ultra famous and super talented and just freaking awesome. And Eric Roepke is much less well known.
No, it's a great clarification.
He I think is the name that should go in the history books.
Yeah.
Not Jimmy Chin, who
What about
should
the
also
birds?
be mentioned as part. Birds. They got their pickings.
I don't think they would have found it without the carrion up there.
Possibly.
Yeah, that's just incredible.
Yeah, and
Also that he had his name on the sock that they found. I think that's one of the most wild parts about this entire thing.
I know. Who did it? How was he that worried that his socks were going to get stolen on Everest?
Yeah.
How high a commodity in the early 20s were socks?
Or just put your name on them. Yeah. It's like my father just put his name on his underwear.
On his underpants, the back of the shirt, the old scratchy tag. When I was a kid, my mum would do that with our sportswear, but then everyone would steal it.
Yeah. But they were right, apparently. We should put our names on our stuff.
When they find my foot, they'll be like, just another fucking foot.
But no, good clarification on Eric Kopka. I can't even say it.
Crap. Sorry, Eric.
Ropka.
So, yeah, some cool pictures from National Geographic, unsurprisingly, being National Geographic. And Jimmy Chin's got a great picture of himself up there. I put up there's a lot of it. There is a lot of really interesting articles to read about it. But like I said, I'm a bit of a climbing nerd. I went off and I read a whole bunch of them. I already knew a lot of the stuff that was already in them. If you don't want all of that, but you want a little bit more about the story than just what's being covered currently with a little bit of history without having to get too bogged down on it, have a look on climbingfocus.com. The article was called Sandy Irvine Mystery Almost Solved. So if you want to have a look at that covers a little bit about what's just happened as well as a little bit of history, just to kind of give you some backstory on that as well.
That's a fantastic plug. Fantastic.
Segued in like I planned it.
The link for the website will be under the wherever you're watching.
Climbingfocus.com. We're going to publish this on Climbing Focus as well. So it's going to be on YouTube, but it's also going to be published as a video you can watch on there with all the other videos that we will make, the hundreds of thousands of videos that we will make growing old doing this.
Decades to come.
Decades to go.
We can watch ourselves age.
Yes, unfortunately. I'm already old. But yeah, so that's been the news that happened. We also want to talk about like accident reports. We spent a lot of time on that this week, so we're not going to do that this week. I think just the talking about what happened on this, the interesting thing for me about what went wrong, like the lesson that can be learned on this. And something I didn't know about till I kind of dove into it a little bit more. Mallory had attempted Everest 3 times. This was his 3rd attempt, and had been unsuccessful. So he was a pretty experienced mountaineer. He was, I believe, 38 years old when he died, and was an accomplished mountaineer. He was respected. His partner, Irvine, was the other summit party simply because he knew how to work the oxygen bottles. And so Mallory had not used oxygen on his first 2 attempts because he felt it was unsporting.
To use oxygen.
He felt it was
Everest.
cheating to use oxygen, and so he hadn't done it and had been turned around both times.
Real quick, what a time to be alive.
Yes. I say, oh boy.
Yeah.
What's that on your back?
I don't
Kind
need
of
to breathe.
flamethrower up there, are you? I say.
What is such fascinating times, and this has actually been something that I have been wanting to look into, is older gear, and that's kind of why I brought up this gear in the very beginning and wanted you to point out this old device. Like I saw a picture of may have been the beginning of their expedition up Everest, of obviously the last one that they did, looking at what they're wearing on their backs looks like they're wearing jetpacks.
It's just incredible now to me how light everything is compared to what it was.
Oh
And
my
these
goodness.
guys carrying cast iron, steel.
Yeah.
Oxygen bottles are still heavy today. I mean, they still have to take that pressure and still have to be that,
That was
big
relatively
solid
new
structure.
technology back then, especially for that small, relatively new.
Mallory didn't know how to use it.
Yeah, he had to bring a technician along with him.
So Irvine was being dragged along as a technician to the.
It's incredible.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
wild? So when I learned that, he wasn't an experienced mountaineer.
Wow.
He was 22 years old.
That poor guy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
22, which when you're 22 feels old.
Yeah.
When you're older than 22, when you're 52, it doesn't seem old at all to be taking on something like that. It is incredible looking at what they were able to achieve. But the interesting part is they did get above the last difficulty. There was no reason for them not to succeed.
Do you know what the section is called? Is there a?
The second step?
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is
the
that- okay,
second
gotcha.
step. Yeah.
Mhm.
But they were seen above that
Wow.
before. I forget the name of the guy who saw them. It was Noel Odell. Was the last one to see them live through
Wow.
the mist with a telescope above the second step. Maybe he made a mistake. But I would like to think that Neil Odell was right. I would like to think that they made it to the summit, and tragedy struck them on the way down.
I would too. And I would imagine there, again, like I just said, I don't think there were that many people up there in 1923.
No, there's no one else.
Exactly. So if there's something
Yeah.
moving up there, it's probably them.
Or the Yeti.
Or the Yeti.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. We discount the Yeti's achievements in mountaineering.
Maybe that got him.
Yeah, that's right. That's why there's a foot. He's like,
There's a foot. He tossed it.
But yeah, I suppose the takeaway accident-wise is that I don't know if Irvine's inexperience played any part in the accident. Of course, we don't know what happened, but you can't help but think it might have. Being the person who had to make those decisions up high with Mallory, who wasn't familiar, if Irvine had got into difficulty and fallen, Mallory is now up there without the knowledge to perform any maintenance on his bottles himself. So dividing that knowledge between people, like one of the things, if I go climbing with people out into the backcountry and it's any kind of alpine climbing, I'm not going to do it if you can't do first aid. If you don't have a wilderness first aid as a basic certificate, we are not going very far from the road, because it's not fair that I've taken that multiple times. To have a member of the party that knew everything about one very important aspect to it and have the other one have all the knowledge. So if Mallory was lost first, Irvine didn't have the experience to get down safely.
Mm-hmm.
If Irvine was lost first and there was a bottle problem, Mallory didn't have the experience to use the bottles. And that was a lack of foresight, and that was a lack of planning. For everything else that went into it, that I don't know. I speculate that was a contributing factor to their accident.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knows? But you wonder if that was a contributing factor.
Especially with such a magnificent climb, what they were doing. Great, capital G, great climb, right? Especially for someone who's not experienced. Like, I have done a lot of hiking. I've done a lot of camping, like mountain sports and everything. But even if you and I went up there together, I would feel very uncomfortable doing that entire climb right now. I am not ready for that at all. And you just took this guy, no idea.
Yeah.
I wonder if this guy had any idea what he was getting into.
Well, so just at the end of the summer, there's a climb I've wanted to do since I first saw it. God, more than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Lone Eagle Peak in Colorado. It's a 5.7. It's 11 pitches. It only really has one pitch of 5.7, and then a pitch of 5.5, a pitch of 4.4, and the rest is kind of scrambling. 5.4, and the rest is kind of scrambling. It's not very technical. It's a full day. You can camp at the bottom and go all the way up. Some people do it all the way, hike in 7 miles, do this peak, and out in a day.
That's a long day.
It's a long day. It's not for me. So we went in, we camped for a couple of days and had a really nice time. We went in to climb it. We got there. It's very impressive. Like, when you look at it, it's actually the end of a ridge, but it's like the kind of peak a kid would draw. You know, it's gorgeous. It's like straight up, straight down. When we got there, my partner and I had been training all summer for this. So Christy and I had been training a lot, like going off, doing multi-pitch climbs, going through multi-pitch rope work. We went to the park, slung a rope over the bough of a tree, and I made her ascend that rope in multiple different ways so she could learn to ascend a rope just in case. that was a necessity. I didn't think it would be on any of the climbs we did. We went and climbed a 5.7 multi-pitch up at 14,000 feet on Mount Evans, and got to the top of that. And that itself was a great achievement, certainly for Christy.
Blue Sky.
What did I call it?
Evans.
Oh, I'm a racist piece of shit.
Yeah, we can't talk about that awful human being.
That awful human being, Sand Creek Massacre, yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I did. It's just been called that for so long. It's very hard to not say it.
It's so tough. It's so hard to say.
My friend Sophia at the climbing gym heard me say that, and turned around and said very loudly, which was out of context to everybody who couldn't hear that, "Fiona, you racist fucking piece of shit!" And everyone in the gym stared at me. I just started going, I accidentally called it Evans instead of Blue Sky. I'm so sorry. The dirty looks I got.
And for all of you out there listening, that was called Mount Evans, named after a governor of Colorado.
Yeah, he was the governor.
I could have been wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get roasted in the comics if that's not the way it was.
Bring it.
But he signed off on the Sand Creek Massacre in Colorado, where so many women and children were murdered. So just want everybody out there to know, if you're not in the know of the news of Colorado, or if you're annoyed with things changing names because of past deeds,
Yeah.
this one's pretty legit.
Yeah. Well, all of them are.
Yeah.
All of them are.
Pretty legit.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a bruised groin.
It was good. All right. So what we got?
The
So
first video here.
So there's a big old ledge underneath there, and that is someone who does not know how to climb slab, for starters. Don't lean in like that, because that reduces your coefficient of friction. And there it goes. It pops.
So he smacked his face pretty good.
So the more scared people get on slab, the closer they lean in, and off they go. It's not how you climb slab. As demonstrated perfectly. This person, they are stemming wide,
Looks
right?
all so sharp.
Stemming wide, frantically scrambling. Come on, dude, you got this. Find a foot. There it is. He's got his foot. He's getting tired, and he's off.
Oh,
And his foot was behind the rope. And you saw how he flipped as he fell down there.
Yeah.
So that first guy hits the ledge,
Inverted.
but there's not much you can do about that other than just get better and have better slab technique. I don't know. You might be encouraged to, as long as you don't get hurt, like, go for it. You know, did the first guy wear a helmet? I think they were.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, wear a helmet.
Always wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet. Come on.
That's something we should do as tips. The end of the video.
Yeah,
Do like
tips.
safety tips.
Yeah, always wear a helmet.
Yeah.
We should put our helmets on
Yeah.
for the podcast. Always wear a helmet. Well, when I started climbing, the helmets were those like cannonballs, the fiberglass cannonballs.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, the guys used the human cannonball type.
Yeah.
And they were really heavy, you know, and they were ridiculous. And there was a reason not to use them. And I didn't wear a helmet when I started climbing. And when I didn't know better, I got on the wrong route, climbed something too hard, hit the rope when I fell, and flipped over. And I rope burned my face, like across here. And I was always like, how on earth did I end up upside down?
Wow.
And of course, I didn't know any better. And I had got my foot behind the rope and flipped when I came off.
Yeah.
Which is what that guy just did.
Yeah.
And the other guy hits the ledge because, you know, ledges are as dangerous as the ground. But we think like once you get clear of the ground, once you get second, third bolt, you're good. But you always have to be aware of ledges. On my other YouTube channel, the Fiona versus Gravity is kind of my personal climbing channel where I fly drones and climb.
That's 2 plugs in a row.
I'm good at this. Oh yeah. Like I planned it. So yeah, on that channel, I have a little segment where I'm climbing, and you can see kind of as I'm clipping, there's a ledge right underneath my feet, and if I come off at that point, it would be bad. And it talks about whether or not you should reach up to clip, when that's appropriate and when that isn't appropriate. So I want some of the stuff that we kind of see in these discussions, and I'm going to try and fill out some content on that to kind of supplement what we're doing here as well. So any kind of instruction videos, that kind of stuff, that any tips and tricks and stuff, I'm going to be making videos and probably putting it out on the Fiona versus Gravity channel. Maybe on the Climbing Focus one as well. It just depends which one I feel it's more appropriate for. This one I kind of like to keep for the podcast mostly, and have the other one for the stuff I learn as I climb. It's kind of like I climb and I talk about what I'm doing while I'm climbing, and you know, what climbing decisions as I'm going.
Yeah.
And the other classic mistake that so many climbers make is rope management. And there's another one where I'm in the gym and as I move my foot across from like out to the right to the left, I'm already leaning way far left off the holds. And the target hold I'm trying to get my right foot to is to the left of the center line. And so as I move my foot across, it's really tempting just to put your foot straight over, and you don't put your foot behind the rope at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you stand up and your harness then goes back to the center line of the rope.
Yeah.
And now your foot, your heel is behind the rope. And if you fall right then, your heel is going to drop the wrong side of the drawer.
Yeah. You're just going to twist.
Flip you and probably break your leg, you know, because you'll be right off that center line. And it's such an easy mistake to make. So you have to remember to like take your foot all the way off and consciously tuck it under while you're moving, thinking when I fall, if I fall right now, where does my foot go? Where does my rope go?
Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot of that.
Going upside down in a harness is like one of the most uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah. Something's gone wrong when that happens.
I think uncomfortable is a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, it's a good reason to have good fitting harnesses. Make sure they fit you well. Make sure they're not old.
Yeah.
And wear a helmet because you can. Oh my God!
Always wear a helmet and make sure whoever's belaying you is definitely wearing a helmet. Mm-hmm. Whoever has that rope down low, whoever it is, needs to be wearing a helmet.
Yeah, right. If
the rock hits them and they get knocked out, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people's argument sometimes. If you're on a very steep climb and you fall into space, you're not going to hit anything, so no big deal. I can see why you wouldn't wear a helmet for that. You know, if you're on a really steep climb, but most of us are not climbing those really steep climbs.
No.
We're on stuff that we'll get hurt on if we fall. So wear a helmet.
Yeah, wear one.
You look like an idiot without one these days.
Yeah, really.
All right, so that's our climbing fails of the week. And so, yeah, we're going to continue trying to bring you content. We're new at this, so be kind, if you would. So, yeah, we're both new to being on camera and talking to camera, and it's kind of a weird thing for us to do, but we're both going to push through it, and you guys are just going to have to fucking like it.
You're going to have to like it. You're going to have to feel just as awkward as we do.
Just going to fucking suffer. That's what's happening. We're going to edit the video down because no one has any patience to watch stuff on YouTube. I think the audio version might be a little bit longer that we put out because people tend to put that on because they're a bit older and nerdy.
While you're driving or while you're working out in a gym.
Yes.
Yeah. Or bored in your house with the windows.
Use it to fall asleep.
Closed. Yeah, who knows?
That should be fine.
Can my voice do that? Is it connected people to sleep? Well, it sort of was the opposite when I want to leave. I do want to end the video with one safety thing from me. I don't care where you're going, how long the hike is, if it's to a wall to climb, or if you're just going out for a hike, bring a backpack, water, and a little bit of food. And do it. And tell someone. If anything, if nothing else, bring those things. Yeah. Heck, even put a rain jacket in there. Yeah. Do it. Don't be like one of those. Colorado has those 10 essentials, and the 10 essentials. You can Google the list if you're not familiar, but tell someone where you're going. Yeah. Carry a spot or in reach. Yeah. Have a method of communication. Know that something is, someone's coming to get you in case you get into trouble. That's super important. Some of the basic stuff. You have some stories about all of that. I have lots of stories. Lots of those. Fucking up. Yeah. So, and you can judge me all you want, but I'm going to tell you all the stupid things I've done over the years and got away with, and I'm not particularly proud of any of them. Yeah. But I'm still here, so they all. Spoiler alert! I didn't die. But yeah, I'm still here. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you have a story about something that happened to you. It doesn't have to be an accident. It could be something that you got away with, something you noticed at the last second, something that you saw someone else do. You can keep the names out of it, but just send us a message. I'll have an email address that you can send something to eventually, but that's not set up yet. But you'll be able to just send us a message through any of the platforms that you hear us on. And tell us what happened. If you want us to talk to you about it, give us a way to stay in touch with you. And we'll maybe have a little chat about what went on and then try and share that and make the greater climbing community aware of how easy it is. Even experienced climbers, even people who should know better, still make mistakes. And we shouldn't be judging each other or ourselves for that stuff. So if you have anything you want us to talk about, any ideas that you have for us in the future, something that you think would be useful for everyone to know that you don't feel is information that's disseminated well enough, then let's do that. That would be really good. So please do
Keep the information flowing. If you think we're saying things that are incorrect, then again, that's how I've refined my techniques over the years. Tell us what we've been doing wrong. Tell us bad advice we're giving. Anything that you think can be improved upon, tell us, and together we all improve. All right. So
Into here.
thanks, Dean.
Yeah.
End
Thanks,
it here.
Fiona.
We're just going to end
Yeah.
it here.
All right, everybody, get out there and send it.
Send it. Thanks very much. See you next time.
Yeah.